Alright folks, welcome back for another Fear the Walking Dead review. This time we're going to be reviewing episode 13 coming from season 7, The Raft. Now if you've never checked out my reviews, they are spoiler free. I'm just here to get you hyped for this week's episode. Now this week's episode starts off with Sherry and Dwight. And basically, as the synopsis read, they have to decide if they're going to live by their code or by their safety. You know, which one are you going to decide between the two, your code or safety? But going into this episode specifically, Sherry meets a random person, and this random person comes on a boat looking for their kid because they heard trans message being transmitted that potentially now she thinks that her kid may be in the tower. The significance of that is because this lady traveled on a boat, which then sparked Sherry the idea about possibilities going forward. I'm not going to tell you specifically what it was, but by her commute, she figured, well, that's a good idea. Maybe blah, 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 blah. So that's, you know, where she decides that, you know, she needs her own raft. But what is she going to do with that is the question. But I got to tell you, Sherry and Dwight happens to be the most dysfunctional, functional couple, period. They always like disagreeing, but agreeing, but then seems like they're going to split again. Then they're just like, nah, we're better together. All of that is going on in this episode again, because it's with doubts, it's with disagreements, and there is some indecisiveness going on between the two of them as well too. And ultimately, because the big goal is that everybody on the outside, Morgan and everybody, all realize that they need to they need to overthrow Strand and then take over the tower. Like, that's the goal. And the same thing for Dwight and Sherry. While they may have disagreements about certain other things, they both agreed that they need the tower in order for success, safety, and etc. going forward. And mostly because the two of them, they're considering family, and you know, with that brings other challenges, and you know, endless ultimatums are being thrown at one another. So you know, that's the type of dynamic that you have between the two of them in this episode. But ultimately, their goal is that, hey, we need that tower. And that aligns with everybody else on the outside. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, Morgan, as we've seen from the previous episode, has Baby Mo. And he also has every walker in the entire world behind him. But that's with a plan. So it's not like he's just evading without purpose. He actually realizes that, well, if that herd of walkers is not surrounding the tower, then that makes Strand pretty much vulnerable. So he's trying to figure out, or he has a plan as to what he's going to do, but ultimately puts a clock on everybody, because now they realize with the vulnerability, this is the time to strike. Just got to make sure everybody's on the same page, and that's his own challenges as well. But ultimately, that brings about another adventure, another episode of the adventures of Baby Mo. Like, Baby Mo is going through it once again. I tell you, if you don't feel for this little baby and everything that she's going through and everything, it's always intense, and you're at the edge of your seat because you know you don't want anything to happen to her, and she's really having a time this time. You know what I mean? But in this episode, we do get a showdown between two familiars, and it's interesting. And I will say that amongst this confrontation, it is a teachable moment, and one decides to declare why they're on the opposite side of the other. And you know, it was truly about their beliefs, and their beliefs being that, like, hey, you know, you all were teaching this, I actually think this was better, so you know, I'm believing in something better, and it seems to be the way. So you know, and with all of this, in this teachable moment, it may prompt a change of heart. So you got to kind of see how it plays out. You know what I mean? But like I said, everybody's goal is to take over the tower. And some feel like this is their only chance because of vulnerability. Some feel like they may not be ready just yet. So there is, again, more indecisiveness going on the outside in order to prepare for this moment, this war that is coming. And with that, like I said, there's tons of interesting moments in this episode, and it's basically about trying to get everybody on the same page. That's like the biggest thing. But there is a revelation in this episode that I saw kind of building towards the middle of this episode, and I can say, folks, like, there's some good news in this episode. Finally, a good thing. Finally, you know, typically you're just like, okay, revelation, that means something happened. It's typically bad. It's The Walking Dead. Like, what happened? But I can say in this episode of Fear the Walking Dead, there's some good news, and it's a good thing. But on the other end of the coin, there is a goodbye and there's a good luck moment, and things are about to get real, folks. Things are really about to get real. I don't know what to think. I know I had to Google to determine how many more episodes was left in this season, but I gotta say, this episode truly took a turn in a way I was not suspecting, but I figured it was going to have to come to this point at some point. It's a lot to make of that, but you have to wait and see. But check it out. Of course, all of you Fear the Walking Dead fans, I know it's a no-brainer. You're going to check this episode out. But jump in the comments. Let me know your thoughts about today's episode. Crazy. The revelations. The goodbye. Whew. War is coming. A lot of things to talk about. Do so in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you around for more Walking Dead, yet Fear the Walking Dead reviews coming very soon.